Today's industrial world, we have seen the process the buildings and skyscrapers go through when they are being built. We have seen the materials such as steel and glass, but we have never really considered any other possibilities besides skyscrapers and buildings. Kelder's Flamingo. Installed in 1974, a sculpture at the Federal Plaza which stands at 53 feet tall, 60 feet long, and 24 feet wide, and it weighs a total of 50 tons. It is painted a bright red-orange color which became to be known as Kelder's Red, and the medium used is steel. The GSA, which is the U.S. General Service Administration, commissioned Alexander Kelder as a way to promote and spread art around Chicago. They also commissioned an architect in the 1950s to redesign the Federal Plaza and its buildings. The sculpture is surrounded by three buildings: a USPS post office, the John Kluczynski Federal Building, and the Everett Dirksen U.S. Courthouse. Kelder introduced the sculpture in 1973 with a smaller scale of the sculpture that can be found at the Art Institute of Chicago. When I first saw the sculpture, the first thing that caught my attention was the color. The sculpture is vibrant. In a place where there is only dark-colored buildings, you don't expect a lot of colors. All the buildings are similar, and then in between them there is a sculpture that catches your eye because of how vibrant it is for the environment that it is found in. I also found this sculpture to be unique, because there are not many sculptures like this. There are sculptures that can be found that are to honor someone or a group. Those sculptures are often statues or an item. Sometimes they are names carved into a medium. But you cannot easily find a sculpture that has a unique shape and form, such as this one. The scale of the sculpture also caught me off guard. Although it is surrounded by many skyscrapers, the sculpture is still tall. When you see a tall sculpture, you don't expect it to be taller than 10 feet, but Kelder's Flamingo is 53 feet tall. The sculpture has an open form, meaning that it can be seen from all sides, including the surrounding buildings above and below. You can also walk under it and around it. There are no limitations of how close you can get to it. You can feel the actual texture of the sculpture. It feels metallic, but it can also feel different depending on the weather. There is a lot of negative space, meaning that there is a lot of open space. Since this sculpture has an open form, it does not create any type of images. It can be said that this sculpture is symmetrically balanced. One side has skinny tall arches, while the other has a shorter but thicker body with three bases. The sculpture is monotonic, meaning that there is only a single color being used. The color used is a vermilion red that later became known as Kelder's Red. Kelder uses the ideas of constructivism in this artwork. The idea of constructivism is that it's supposed to reflect today's modern world. Kelder used steel to blend it in with the buildings around it. He also used the color and scale to get the attention of others and emphasize the presence of the structure in the plaza. These two things, along with the medium, do a good job in reflecting today's industrial world and stands out for others to see. Kelder was born on July 22, 1898, in Lawton, Pennsylvania. He was born into a family of artists. His father, Alexander Sterling Kelder, was a sculptor, and his mother, Nanette Lederer Kelder, was a painter. Growing up, Kelder made small pieces of art. On a Christmas when Kelder was just 8 years old, he gifted his parents sculptures that he made on his own. After high school, Kelder majored in engineering, but after graduating college, he realized that it was not something that he enjoyed. In 1923, Kelder made the decision of studying art, and he moved to New York, where he enrolled at the Art Student League. Later in 1926, he moved to Paris, where he met the artists that inspired him and influenced him the most. He met Joan Miro, Paul Klee, and Piet Mondrian. Kelder created two different types of sculptures. He created sculptures that moved due to the wind or other forces such as motors that he created, and stationary sculptures made of steel sheets. He applied his knowledge of engineering into his sculptures. The sculptures that moved were called mobiles, while the stationary sculptures were called stabiles. Many of Kelder's stationary sculptures show the ideas of constructivism. Constructivism was an art movement that originated in Russia in 1913 by a man named Vladimir Tatlin. Constructivism is the art that is aimed to reflect the modern industry in an abstract manner. Other artists who were a part of this movement include Antoni Pevsner and Naum Gabo. These were the three artists who became the founders of the movement. The movement originated in around 1913, and it grew rapidly throughout Russia after the Russian Revolution. Then Gabo and Pevsner traveled to Europe to spread constructivism in the 1930s, and then spread the movement to the United States in the 1940s. An artist who was influenced by this movement was Laszlo Moholy Nagy. He was a professor at an art school in Chicago. He spread his ideas of the movement to his students, who then later on spread it around the United States. Kelder uses his engineering knowledge to create a sculpture made from steel. Kelder's flamingo is different, unique, and vibrant. It reflects today's modern industrial world and shows how we have evolved with the use of mediums and technology. We used to make structures with other materials such as wood and stone, and now we have managed to manipulate steel, plastic, and glass. He uses the scale and color to emphasize the abstract sculpture and to tell it apart from the city.